Hello, welcome to episode 3 with myself and Duncan. Doing something a little bit different this week, and we've got a guest, which is really exciting. And we've got Susie Rudge joining us. Susie's a very well seasoned Hello Self associate, a clinical psychologist, a parent of 3. So, welcome, Susie. It's really great to have you with us.
Thank you for having me. I'm really looking forward to chatting with you both.
Brilliant. Well, hello, Duncan.
Hi Lucy, how you doing?
I'm all right, thanks. And I'm really excited because today we've got Susie Rudge joining us. I'm going to let Susie introduce herself more fully, but Susie is one of the Hello Self associates whose proper old guard has been here since virtually the start. So Susie, welcome, and do you want to just introduce yourself?
Thank you. Hi Lucy, hi Duncan. It's really nice to be here. Thank you for inviting me on. Yeah, it's a real privilege. So yes, I'm Susie, a clinical psychologist. I think I've been at Hello Self since September 2019. Started out doing associate work and then moved into For Business almost 2 years ago. So yeah, perhaps we'll have a little chat about that. But yes, thank you for having me.
Lovely. Brilliant. Well, we have a kind of little list of things that me and Duncan make notes on in between times that we try to touch on each session. I say in between times, I think 2 days before we meet is the truth of the matter. But we try to build it up. But maybe we just kick off with asking like kind of an easy question, but probably quite difficult as well, which is what's it like working for Hello Self? And perhaps you could tell us a bit about a typical day for you with Hello Self.
Sure. I mean, I guess to think first of all about what's it like, the first word, I suppose, that comes into my mind when asked that question is it's really flexible. And I absolutely love that. I've got 3 small children and I really, really need and value that flexibility. And it works so well for me to be able to work 100% from home, to have so much control over my diary. And recently, with the changes to the way the contracts work for business, I have even more control over that aspect of the work as well, which has also made a huge difference. So it's really flexible is what it's like, and it's really enjoyable and stimulating. I really appreciate the CPD and supervision sessions. It's nice to feel part of a team. I think the thing I miss the most about being in the NHS is sitting in an office with other people, other psychologists, other members of the multidisciplinary team, and having informal supervision, informal chats, a cup of tea. So probably the only downside for me is sometimes I'm a bit lonely. I like to chat, and I do really miss having someone sat next to me. And though I could do that with my husband, most of my work is entirely sort of calls. So there isn't really the downtime where I'm just doing admin, where I could be in a room with somebody else. So I suppose that's the only thing I struggle with a little bit, is that it's sometimes a little bit isolating. But everything else about it works so well for me, and I really enjoy it. And I really like the corporate side of things too. I think sometimes when I speak to friends and my husband, I don't know if you guys have ever felt like this, but I sometimes feel like I missed out on the perks of like working for a big company. And you know, my husband, for example, they get massages at work and pick and mix bars and breakfast, and
Wow.
you know, 180-degree views, you know, depending on where the office is located. And you know, in the NHS, you were lucky if you got a free tea bag. So I really like the corporate side of Hello Self, because there are promotions and, you know, ways that you can, you know, refer somebody in, and you know, as an associate, maybe there's a bonus involved there, or you know, there's little incentives for joining panels and things like that. And I really actually quite like that corporate side of it. It feels a little bit different to the NHS, I guess. So I like that. Happy to say a little bit more about a day in the life if that's interesting, but maybe I should pause there for a moment.
Yeah, so much of what you've just said there resonates with me. Particularly, I think that transition to working from home completely and remotely, it probably took me 6 months, maybe 12 months to just feel like I got a bit more used to that, having always worked in busy teams and kind of going into the office. And absolutely the kind of loneliness. I think that's one of the main reasons Lucy and I set up this podcast, so we could prioritize some good time to get together and connect and talk. Absolutely. But one question that came for me from what you said, but also following on from Lucy's, was like it's felt like since 2019, kind of end of 2019, over those years, because I think, for us, Hello Self being a startup, it's really changed. Our role as CDs has changed quite a lot. I suppose we're living the changes as we grow, scale, navigate some of the challenges that any startup faces, but particularly for us, where we're trying to innovate and break down some of the barriers to access to mental health care. But has it felt for you like Hello Self has changed over that time, like your experience of being an associate for Hello Self? I'd be really interested to know a bit more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's worth saying when I first joined Hello Self, I was in the NHS and looking to just do a little bit of extra private work on the side, evenings and weekends mainly. And I was looking at a couple of different places I could be an associate at the same time. And I had the most positive onboarding experience ever with Hello Self. Everyone called when they said they would. 4 or 5 different people made time to speak to me, from the sort of COO to the sort of chief clinical director, and people I'd be working more closely with, assistant psychologists. I felt like I was talked through the process so well and showed the platform, and I felt really supported. So I never worked with any other company. I just stuck with Hello Self only. But I have definitely seen so much change and growth in terms of the tech features on the platform. There are many, many more. And so many of them, fantastic things that I've realised I really wanted, but I hadn't even sort of thought about, if that makes sense. So I was actually reading the last newsletter at the weekend, and I found myself out loud responding to one of the new changes on the platform and saying, oh, that's really good. So, but it wasn't something I'd actually thought to myself, we need that. So absolutely, I've seen so many changes, and also just in the growth of the team, and the sort of number of supportive hubs you could go to. You've got a group of clinical directors, you've got your own clinical director, there's for business clinical psychologists, there's all the tech and support people, administrators. There are so many people that you could go to for support, and I really feel the growth of the team around me as well, which is really nice.
And I think you've already touched upon this, but perhaps if you wouldn't mind, Susie, just summing it up a bit. But what, in terms of what you need from Hello Self going forward, I guess, in terms of thinking about, what you've said about the flexibility it offers you, perhaps what you need in terms of the changes as we continue to grow and develop, and how to make room to step back from your initial reactions and go along with it. What we talked about in terms of the buffering, about the CPD and support from your CD and the panel. But yeah, if you wouldn't mind talking to that, what you feel you need from Hello Self, because I think that would be really helpful for particularly some of the newer associates that are kind of joining us.
I guess answering that question in a way that's really unique to me and maybe wouldn't be the same for everybody, and I'm not sure how helpful that is, but for me, I think that the biggest change that would make a really meaningful difference to me would be able to being able to see people in person sometimes. So another in-person CPD event.
Yeah.
Lucy, I think you were at the one immediately before lockdown. We didn't really know what was happening yet, but
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that. It was so nice to see everybody in person and just enjoy an evening together. It was quite relaxed, but also learned lots from a really great speaker. And so something like that, I think, occasionally would be really nice. Just something in person, or if there was ever a sort of, I don't know if this is the case anymore, but if the office is still there, but a sort of hot desking, you know, where you can go and do some admin for a few hours and speak to colleagues, or I really value that space, I think. Even if I only went once a month, for example, it would be nice to know that there was an opportunity to do that sometime. I guess the only other thing that I would really value being involved in a sort of enriching my career life, if you like, would be research, because we're all scientist practitioners and we've all been trained with these really amazing research skills, and clearly this is a clinical role, but I guess where there are opportunities to fulfill tasks that would speak to our research skills would be amazing, because I personally really enjoy that. I know some people hate that, but I really like research. And you know, the writing up of it and things like that. So I would always value any opportunity to be involved in that part of things. But I think everything else is great. I wouldn't change anything about the way I work sort of clinically as an associate for Health at all.
That's I mean, kind of, and perhaps, I mean, I'd invite you, but you don't have to respond to, perhaps connect with some of the emotion or feelings underneath those needs, and you know, what's coming up for me is what you said earlier about the feeling lonely and the loneliness, and so it sounds like the need that you're describing there is around connection, is around networking, but you know, different ways to think about how we help associates feel more connected. And then, but also I'm wondering about what you're saying as well, which is also a really important need, and that feeling of feeling like you're growing, and that you're being nurtured to grow, and you know, the meaning that comes with that and the purpose. Is that, I mean, obviously assuming, but are those assumptions kind of correct?
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely is about sort of seeking out connection and kind of feeling less lonely, I guess. Being able to, you know, when you end a difficult session, for example, just being able to say to someone nearby, or, you know, in another room or whatever, gosh, I don't think I did a great job there, or I really don't think that client got anything useful out of that, found it really tricky, or, you know, just those moments when you want to just take 2 minutes, 5 minutes to just reflect on a session that you've just had, or you know, to share a really positive breakthrough. When they happen, it's really nice to think, oh, you know, the client just made a really great connection, and we feel like we've really made some progress, and their measures show improvement, and you know, it's really exciting and rewarding. And sometimes it's really nice to have someone to share that with, and because of the limits of confidentiality, I can't share that with anybody I live with, or you know, anyone else. So unless there happens to be a supervision call, the moment's often lost. I try to make notes of certain things I want to make sure I do reflect on in supervision, but it's not quite the same as doing it in real time, I guess. And yeah, to your second point, it's definitely the sort of desire, I guess, to be involved in research, service evaluation or audit, whatever, is definitely about wanting to feel like I'm growing, and using all of my skills and tapping into the other parts of it, because it can be quite exhausting to just do clinical work. I remember when I first spoke to a really qualified and senior for business clinician who sort of talked me through what it was like, because she'd been doing it for quite a while. and she said, you will feel like you've just done 10 rounds with Mike Tyson at the end of it. And I remember Anne-Marie saying something similar, and there are definitely days when it feels like that, because it is that back to back. And interestingly, I had a day recently, which is really unusual, where I had 3 people cancel in one day, and 2 of them were 50-minute sessions, one was 25. So it meant that almost every session there was only one in my whole day where I had another one immediately after. And I felt like I did a much better job clinically, just sort of having that reflection space. And it did make me wonder whether, because I have the freedom to now, I should space my time out a little bit more, because it can be quite intense just doing the clinical work. And I really enjoy doing a little bit of admin, because it's just something different. And it requires a different set of skills. And I know in your first episode, I think it was, you were talking about the cognitive load of sort of working on screen, and maybe missing some important cues that you can't really see when you're on a screen, but you might see in a room with somebody, and just having to be really having to be kind of switched on to the point where it is quite exhausting mentally. So sometimes I like to switch off with an admin task or a research task, and I guess I do miss that part of the role a little bit.
Absolutely. Now, I wondered if we could take this opportunity to kind of pick your brains and for you to share some of your expertise, particularly around for business. But so I was reading an article this week, I can't remember when it was, but where it was a mental health professional who works a lot in the corporate space, was talking about how the research is suggesting now that our direct managers, leaders within the workplace, can have a bigger impact on people's mental health than their therapist. And just how the personality of your manager, your leader, has such a big influence on shaping the culture, but just how you feel every day going to work, what you're anticipating leaving work. And that hit home, that idea of actually has more of an impact than your therapist. So I just wondered if you kind of anecdotally agree with that statement, but also perhaps from a for-biz point of view, what support Hello Self can give organisations to help improve management, leadership, because I think particularly around wellbeing and mental health, it's always the default is, well, it's a problem with the individual, there's something going on in the individual's life, but actually the management, the leadership has such an important responsibility and duty there, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. Anecdotally, I definitely agree with that, both based on my own sort of experience of being managed in previous organisations, but also the people I work with. I really see the impact of when things maybe aren't quite right or could be done differently. There's a few different sort of cases I'm working with at the moment where I'm really seeing that. But interestingly, I sometimes get managers book in for a session saying, there's someone on my team who I manage who's really struggling. How can I help them? What would you suggest? So absolutely, I think Hello Self could have a role in working with those people. Most people are really up for that. They want to be upskilled, I guess, in understanding how to support people. Particularly when there are mental health challenges, or people are just sort of struggling to maybe find their place within a team. That does come up so often, actually, particularly in law firms where I work with. But I do wonder, and I don't know how much this would apply to other types of firms, but I do wonder whether lots of the problems I see maybe might be with younger people who are training and they move every 6 months, similar to clinical psychology doctoral placements. So I wonder if there's a sort of mentality of, well, I'll just stick it out because I know I'm not staying. And I wonder if the same investment isn't going in because it's a temporary role. But I do see lots of sort of issues around how people are managed, and I could really understand how a manager could absolutely have more of an impact than a therapist. And equally, I see people who are really well managed and their mental health is quite good, but maybe there's a really specific, discrete issue personally, or some sort of coaching required at work, or actually they're quite well and they just want to check in every 2 months and just reflect on why they're doing so well given the huge amount of pressure and stress they're under, and want to do more of the things that promote wellness. But I do also see the sort of other side of it as well.
Duncan, are there any other
I was going to say,
questions that I was feeling like, are we approaching a highs and lows moments?
I know. I wanted to invite Susie to join us in our favourite bit, which is the highs and lows.
Absolutely. No, thank you very much for having me, and it's been really nice to have a chat with you both. And yeah, absolutely happy to join in highs and lows. It's a lovely idea.
So, do you want to kick off, Susie?
Yeah. So Lucy's so our kind of we shaded that we start with lows, so and then we can end with the high. So if you kick us off with sharing a low from your week.
Sure. So this is a low from the weekend, which was incredibly busy. I'm in the process of moving house to a rental and having building work done. So I'll be out for sort of 9 to 12 months. So it's a huge project, obviously having to get everything out of the house, and I feel like I'm sort of holding 3 different locations in mind: the old one, the one that hasn't been built yet, and the temporary rental. So trying to manage all of that. And I had to drive a courtesy car, annoyingly, which wasn't planned, which wasn't big enough to fit everything in that I would be able to fit in my usual car. Drop my daughter to a play date, and then drive to the new place and drop lots of things off. After I set off, road was closed, because I don't know if this is happening where you both live, but being end of the financial year, there is so much roadworks being done, temporary lights, road closures absolutely everywhere. So I found myself on sort of country lanes taking huge diversions, and there are temporary lights along there, and get to drop my daughter off, carry on. I can see temporary lights being set up, which are undoubtedly going to be there when I'm trying to come back. So I'm trying to get clever and go a different way. And the 2 left in the back are telling me how hungry they are. And I'm saying, it's okay, I've got snacks, I just can't get to them because I'm in this courtesy car, which I forgot I don't have access to the boot through, and I do in my normal car. So I put the bag with the snacks in the boot and we couldn't reach it. But I'm saying, it's okay, we'll be there in a minute, it'll be there. And then realised that I have forgotten the keys to the rental property, which I need to put all the stuff I'm trying to take there. So I've loaded the car up, and I was feeling quite accomplished in how much I managed to fit in, plus the children, despite leaving the snacks in the boot. And anyway, so then I had to turn around, but then I had to go back this really long, windy route that everyone was taking, parked cars everywhere, reversing to let people run. It was just a nightmare. And the children in the back are just saying things like, I won't survive 14 more minutes, because they could see the time on the sat nav. I won't survive, we need food now. And I'm saying, you just had lunch, you'll be fine. And one of those moments where I'm wondering if I should just stop the car, get out, take 10 deep breaths and try again. I'm not quite sure how I got through that. I was so cross with myself for forgetting the keys, but just a busy mind, too many things going on. I managed to attend to that one very crucial detail. And it reminds me of your story, Duncan, about forgetting your instrument.
I'm back there with you, Susie. Sounds horrible. Sounds horrible.
Thanks for sharing that. And what about your high? Can we offset that?
Yes, so the high was nicer because, as well as moving and being very busy this weekend, it's also my daughter's birthday, my oldest daughter's 10th birthday. And she moved schools recently, just before Christmas. And it was so lovely to see her sort of managing old friends and new friends. They went to Pizza Express and the cinema, a few of them. And she had people from actually 3 different groups. wasn't many of them, but lots of them didn't know each other, and it was really nice to see her sort of skillfully including everybody. And someone, she would say to someone, "Oh, thank you so much, I love your gift," and then immediately wanted to tell everyone, "I loved yours too, yours was amazing too." And it was just, I felt so proud of her, the way she was sort of stitching together people from different groups. And it was lovely to see how well she's settled in her new school and made new friends, but is really focusing on maintaining her old friendships as well. So it was just a lovely moment and a really nice celebration. And I also can't believe she's 10. It's crazy how quick the time goes. Everyone tells you that before you have kids, but you don't really believe it till you actually experience it. It just goes so fast.
Well, that was a roller coaster. So I'm there feeling really nice and sharing that pride with you. Feeling of pride now, going from feeling really horrible and frustrated now right up to feeling that pride.
That's definitely how I would describe my life at the moment. A massive roller coaster, but I'm sure it will all level out once we've actually moved out and on slightly more even keel. But it was a roller coaster.
What about you, Duncan? What's been your
So
low?
my low was just when I was writing the highs and lows, just reflecting. I think it was on Friday, and it'd been a really long, busy week. One of those weeks where you're like, I've just got to endure this week and get through it. Next week's going to be better, and I'm so looking forward to the weekend. So it was just feeling as though I really didn't get the balance right between work and home life over that week. I think probably it tailed another week where it was like, just got to get through this and endure it. So that was my low. Just kind of at the end thinking, I didn't get the balance right. I didn't give enough time to kids, my wife, all the jobs that need doing at home and what have you, and that. And then my high was actually then after the weekend. So I think we realised I needed that, and we went to stay with family, my brother and his children. Our children get really well on with their cousins, and yesterday we managed to bag our first mountain from our challenge. So we climbed Cadair Idris in Snowdonia. That's the second highest mountain in Snowdonia, and it was just a stunning day. The sun was out. We could see all the way to the Irish Sea. Absolutely beautiful. It took us 5 hours, but we all managed it. The dog too. So it was really really kind of energized and felt really positive after that.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, amazing. What an awesome challenge for the kids as well.
Yeah.
We've set ourselves already. We've agreed to and committed to Ben Nevis in April, so we're going to go for the biggest already.
Yeah,
so
that's super
cool. Yeah.
How about you, Lucy?
What am I doing first? Oh, my low, yes. So my low, well, it's yes, the low. I think I was going to mention was it sort of sounds heavy, and I suppose it, and I don't think I've necessarily bought very heavy ones. But my sister-in-law had a psychiatric admission last week, and this is a pattern. So this isn't new. It's something that we're used to as a family, and that's obviously very difficult for her. But what actually the bit that I was engaged with in terms of the low was less about her, and that's tough. That's a hard admission. That's one part. But actually, it's sort of the impact on her mum, my husband, not just because it's sad and they care, but that it's really frustrating when you can't find a way to help to facilitate change for someone. And actually, now I feel really aware of that because, particularly in our profession, you want to be able to help in these areas. And I hope and think that over the years, I have been able to make introductions and help to open doors in different ways for support. But actually, when someone's in a place where they're not able to walk through those doors or don't want to access the support, then it doesn't matter how much knowledge you've got or anything, you're just sort of stuck. So I think it felt like a real just moment of frustration at not being able to help enough and knowing what we want to do to help and even how we could help, but not being able to help to get that how into action. So that was just a bit of a difficult one, a bit sad. So that was my low. And then my high, well, I did have a few highs. I had some nice moments this week, but the high I'm going to go with is that we went on Friday night to a silent disco at the Natural History Museum, and it was honestly so much fun. But it was so much fun because I'd never been to one. It was really unique. There's like 3 DJs battling it out to have you want to be on their channel, and you're going on all different channels, and it was really cool. But you're also underneath the skeleton of a blue whale.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of incredible. And, you're drinking and dancing in the Natural History Museum, which, I mean, I've been going to the Natural History Museum, I don't know, I must have probably been 3 or something when I first went. And so it was just a really, it's such an iconic and beautiful building, sort of such a, not a place you expect to be going partying. So it was really nice and really interesting, and just nice to have a good dance, because I do like a good dance.
I tell you what, London blows my mind. Like, I learned from you what is possible in London, and everything is possible in London. It's amazing.
That's I've been to a really cool event there before, a long time ago, 2009 I think it was, but it was a ball and a sort of charity dinner. It was fantastic being in that space.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Amazing, yeah.
Yeah, and there's something so exciting about seeing spaces being used for not what you expect or not how you've previously experienced them. I felt a bit naughty.
Yeah. It's like night at music.
Dinosaur.
So I think that's it for us today. Susie, been an absolute pleasure to spend this time talking with you. Really enjoyed it. It's really brought something different to the podcast, and we're definitely going to invite some other guests over the next few podcasts as well. So thank you for your time.
Not at all. Thank you for having me. It's felt like a real privilege to be here, and quite a lot of pressure after I really enjoyed your first 2 episodes. So as I said, hope it lives up to that. But no, really, really enjoyed it, and I shall look forward to continuing to listen.